a man that was used to play football at Carter Finley Stadium, was drafted by the man who's joining us now in the Heister Automotive Group hotline, Chandler Zavala being that former NC State player, Scott Fitterer, general manager, joining us here on the Heister Automotive Group hotline of the Carolina Panthers. Scott, I know it's the first time you and I have spoken, all right? Luis Fernandez and myself, Dennis Cox, have to know this.
Hey, guys.
At what point did you know when you traded up to number 1 that Bryce Young was the guy? I mean, you had to know all along, right? That, hey, we're going up there to get Bryce specifically. I mean, you can tell us. We won't tell anyone else.
I tell you what, we had a pretty good feeling about Bryce early on. Starting in February, meeting with the scouts, talking to them. They had a ton of conviction, and we had a new coaching staff coming in. Frank was putting the staff together with Thomas Brown and Jim Caldwell, Josh McCown, Parks Frazier. So they had to kind of catch up to speed on Bryce and the whole quarterback class in general. But when we made that move, at the beginning of March, we had Bryce in mind as well as a few guys, but we wanted to commit to being continuous throughout the process, keeping an open mind. But, Bryce was always right there at the top.
Scott, I look at that round 2, round 3, that kind of time frame in the draft, what was available, what you all had. Prioritizing Jonathan Mingo, that wide receiver, over, say, like an edge, end up getting DJ Johnson. Was there something special about this wide receiver group that made you all say, yes, we need to go get someone in the second round?
Yeah, we like those top receiver groups. Several of them went in the first round. We did want to, give Bryce and our offense some weapons, and we thought that Jonathan Mingo did that. He's a big man. We like these big receivers. He's 6'2", 220 pounds. He's got long speed. He plays big on the ball. He's got great ball skills. So we thought in this offense, the way Frank and Thomas run it, that he would be a really good fit. He's going to be really good after the catch. He can play inside and outside. If you play him in the slot, you can get the ball to him quick, and he's got that run after catch ability that's really effective in this offense.
Scott Fitterer, Carolina Panthers general manager, joining us here on the Heister Automotive Group hotline alongside Luis Fernandez. I'm Dennis Cox. You traded up to number 1 from number 9. You had to give up a lot of your draft capital, not only from this year, but in the next couple of drafts as well. So in this year's draft and then looking into next year, how do you balance the draft capital that you have in terms of making the moves like you did to move up in the 3rd round to take DJ Johnson, knowing that you may not have some of the future picks that you gave away, and I say gave away, but that you traded away to move up to number 1? How do you balance that out in terms of making sure that you go out and get not only the guy that you want, but also balancing what you need?
Yeah, as we're building this team, it's going to get harder and harder to make the team, because not only the frontline guys, but the depth players. And I thought we added a lot of good players this year in college free agency. But, you don't want to give up picks just to move up to get a guy that, you feel okay about. You want to move up to get a guy that there's a specific role that player can fill. And the way that our coaches thought, hey, this is a guy they wanted, this is a player they needed that we don't have on our roster. Our scouts liked him. So when we're looking at DJ, we're looking at it, we're like, okay, this guy can not only has the 4.4 speed to get after the quarterback as a rusher, but he's got that 260-pound frame with shock in his hands to kind of set that edge. We don't have that on our roster currently. And, there's been a lot of talk about DJ, but the one thing I know is our coaches have a real conviction how they're going to play him, the role he's going to play. He'll be on the field for us contributing.
Scott, did you just turn on the tape from NC State and see Ike Ekwonu and Chandler Zavala play next to each other and say, yeah, I want that?
Absolutely. We watched Chandler this year. He was really good. And, we got onto him a little bit late, and we're watching him. We're like, wow, this guy's really moving people. And we went back 2 years ago when he did line up next to Ike. He was the left guard. Ike's the left tackle. And I tell you what, they were absolutely destroying people in the run game on the left side of that line. They were fun to watch. They played some good competition, and they were moving guys 2, 3, 4 yards off the ball. And when they, you get those pancakes, and they would go down on top of them and finish them. So there's a nastiness to those guys. And then, we talked to Ike about him, and he loved the guy. We brought Chandler in for an interview on a 30 visit. We hit it off with him. Coach Camp and our offensive line coach loved him. So he was just a fit for what we're looking for. He's the guy that can help us right away. With Austin Corbett coming off an injury, if he's not ready, we can do some things where Chandler can be in the lineup right away. And he's the guy that we see starting down the road as well.
Hey, if you get a starter in your offensive line in the 4th round, the word value is thrown out a lot. That's, to me, in my mind, that's great value. Scott Fitterer, Carolina Panthers general manager, joining us here on the Heister Automotive Group hotline. I want to go back to Bryce here real quick. I will say, for Nick Saban to have the pick of the litter in terms of college football, in terms of quarterbacks, and he chooses Bryce Young at his size and his frame. His size and his frame is what it is. And for you guys to take him number 1 overall, to me, that tells me this guy has to be a really, really special, not only player, but person.
He is. Yeah, he's both that. He's a special player and a special person. And, 90% of the quarterback positions played from the neck up. You have to have a really smart guy out there. There's several different traits you need. There's managing the line of scrimmage, the calls, there's the processing part of it, but there's also the poise part of it and the ability to, create time in the pocket and keep your eyes downfield. And the one thing about Bryce, that's what he does so well. That's why he plays the game at such a high level. And he never gives up on a play. He goes through his progressions. He just knows and has that feel that the great quarterbacks have. And that's why we were so convicted. It's a lot of times you get a guy with a lot of great traits with the 6'4" and the huge arm and all these things, but they can't go through the progression. Or you get a small guy that can run around, make plays. The one thing about Bryce is he can do it all. Like he can make a lot of plays, deliver the ball on time. He has an absolutely great feel for the game. He's got great anticipation. So those are all the things that when you study NFL quarterbacks over the last, decade and a half, that's what they all have. And so that's why we're so excited to get him.
Scott, I look at the way you constructed this roster, all the turnover that's happened recently, the people that you draft, and it seems to me that this Panthers team is ready to compete for an NFC South division title immediately. Is that fair?
That's our goal. Our goal every year is going to be to compete for the NFC South, and I think we've built this roster in a way where, you build it on defense, you build it on the offensive line. Now we're filling in. Now we're dropping the quarterback into it, and this has kind of been the blueprint that we've had for the last 2 to 3 years, and we're finally in a position where we can take this. And I do think the NFC South is up for grabs right now.
Scott Fitterer, Carolina Panthers general manager, one final question for you. What's next for you? Do you actually get a chance to sleep now that the draft is over? Do you get a vacation? I mean, free agency.
Turn on the 2024 film.
Yeah, I would say, are you already scouting 2024, 2025? What's next for you?
We're right back into it. We're in the middle of OTAs. We're filling out roster spots for a mini camp that's not this weekend, but the weekend after. And our scouts will start, they've already have a pretty good feel for next year's class. And, this is a really, it's a nonstop process. Building a roster and maintaining a roster is nonstop. And if you ever do stop, it's going to pass you by. So we have to be on top of it. And we're very fortunate that we have the opportunity to do this.
Well, don't forget to breathe and sleep during all of this. You've been putting in a lot of work this offseason. I know I'm excited for this upcoming year for the Panthers. Scott Fitterer, general manager, Carolina Panthers, best of luck this year. We'll talk to you down the road.
Appreciate it, guys. Thank you.